Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back. Yes, it is me. I'm here in real. I know it's been a while. I've really been enjoying the podcast episodes that I recorded for you. But now I felt it is time to come back. It's time to show my little face again. And we are celebrating my comeback with Synastry, a Synastry episode. We are talking about the moon squaring Neptune in Synastry. What do we get when we get this dreamy but very confusing connection? Well, let me sum it up. Before we get into it, let me sum it up in a sentence or two. This connection feels always a little blurred at the edges. It's not clear, we cannot ever define it, and it drives us crazy, but at the same time, we're so intrigued. It also feels like it's always slipping away. And that also is driving us crazy, but it is intriguing. We want to know more. There is this mystery that we're trying to solve, which can get very exhausting at times. Now, let's dive a little deeper into this. We are looking at the dynamics. We are looking at the moon and the Neptune person. Now, when I talk about the moon person and the Neptune person, we have to understand that in life in general, but of course, also in relationships, energies flow both ways. So when we look at someone's synastry chart, obviously one person is the person that brings the moon, the other person brings Neptune, but it's not always the moon person that plays out the moon, and it's not always the Neptune person that plays out Neptune. That can shift and change. Is it true that mostly the Neptune is person playing Neptune and the other one is playing the moon? Yes, but it is not that straightforward, right? We have to remember this. Like the energetics, the way they express themselves within us and around us, it's not straightforward. It's not like a straightforward line. It's more like this, right? Now, let's look at the moon person. The moon person is deeply, deeply sensitive and seeks emotional security in the relationship. And the moon person generally feels both bewildered but also enchanted by the Neptune person. Specifically when it comes to this elusiveness that the Neptune person exudes, right? There's also this unpredictability with Neptune. You don't know what do we get today? What do we get? Like how much can we define it? We know we cannot define it totally, but sometimes you can define it a little more. Other times it's completely like, what is this? I don't understand it. But again, the moon is drawn to that Neptunian all-encompassing possibility, right? Like, God, everything is possible with that person. Everything is possible. Now, the Neptune person radiates this dreamlike personality, right? But I already said this everything is possible kind of persona. And it also has these otherworldly qualities. When it comes to this specific connection that these two people have, to that emotional bond that they share, the emotional digestive system of the moon person is very triggered by that Neptunian energy of the other person. The moon is our subconscious. It is not just the way we emotionally express ourselves, or the way we emotionally digest life, or the way we are emotionally relating to others. No, it is also our subconscious, right? All that stuff, that conditioning that we are holding from our past. And I'm not even going into our past life. I'm just talking about our past, our upbringing, the way we've been nurtured, right? And what we now need based on that. And based on what we've worked through, what we haven't worked through, what we've come to terms with, what we have understood, what we have healed, all of that, it's all in the moon. And that's why the moon is so important in relationships, when we analyze relationships in its energetic form. And so when the moon and the Neptune person are coming together in this square, the moon person has a hard time interpreting Neptune, right? And often it misinterprets Neptune's the Neptunian qualities in the other. Specifically in the beginning of the relationship, the moon person sees the Neptune person as its ideal, right? The Neptune person just is like an angel. It's an angel. And then slowly, depending, of course, how long this relation lasts and the inner work we are doing and the work we're doing in the relationship, that Neptune person will fall off the pedestal, because that Neptune person is human. It's human. Yes, it has that Neptunian energy, but it also has all the human flaws that, we humans have. But it is sure that the Neptune person will come off that pedestal, and both people will not understand what is happening, because the Neptune person is like, wait a minute, I was on a pedestal, you admired me, and now you just criticize. In no aspect, I know you probably heard other astrologers say other things, but I don't believe that there are aspects that make or break a relationship. There are certainly aspects that make things more difficult and more challenging, where we are really asked to work through our own stuff and learn and grow through, working things out. But there is no aspect that can tell you this is not it. Neptunian aspects are generally more challenging because, again, you can't define anything, and we live in this world of definition, right? We see everything clearly and everything is tangible, but Neptune, there is nothing tangible about Neptune. On the bright side, in this relationship, there is a lot of romanticism. It's deeply romantic. It may feel magical and even fated, right? It's like we are meant to be together. And then we are prone to disappointment when, quote unquote, reality sets in. But that is where the chance lies, right, in this relationship, because the growth potential here is tremendous. Again, because Neptune is the all, right? Neptune is all the possibilities. So the growth potential is endless. But again, what is possible for you? What is your container able to hold? Your personal container. I'm not even talking about the relationship at this point. I'm talking about what are you willing to work on within you? What are you willing to release, to let go? What's the other able to work on, right? How is their container? How expanded is their container? Are they able to keep expanding? Right? That's the end all be all, really. How conscious are you? How aware are you? And again, this has nothing to do with one is better than the other. You're more aware, so you're a better person. No, you're not a better person because you're more aware. You're just more aware. And when you're more aware, you can live a fuller life, right? It's just that's it. It's nothing to do with you being more worthy or you being better. No. So let's really quickly go through the challenges here. Let's look at it in more detail. Now, challenges and misunderstandings. First thing, emotional confusion, right? Then the moon person may feel unsure about where they stand with the Neptune person, really. And again, this can flow both ways, right? The Neptune person can feel that too, right? And they can be confused themselves how they actually feel about the other, right? How do I feel about them? So it's like, again, a mutual thing. It goes both ways. How do we feel about each other? Where do we stand? Like, what is this? It feels a little bit like a house of cards, right? And we got to find a way to build a foundation here. And again, that's where the other aspects come in. How is the energy composition in that Synastry chart? How where are the Saturn placements? Where are the Sun placements? What have we built foundational here? And can we fall back on something? The next issue, the next challenge here is avoidance and escapism. Both partners may avoid dealing with quote-unquote real-life issues. We rather look at everything with rose-colored glasses. We look at it with a lens that makes things more pretty. We don't want to deal with the reality in this relationship until we can't avoid it anymore. Then all bets off. Then also deception and delusionment, which kind of feeds into what I already said. Neptune, the Neptune energy, I'm not talking about the Neptune person per se, right? Again, because this can flow both ways. But the Neptunian energy can sometimes be a bit deceptive, intentionally or not. It's not like necessarily that they're intentionally trying to deceive the other. But there is, again, because the lines are so blurred between what is allowed, what is not, who am I not, that can lead to moments where the moon person or the moon energy in this relationship can feel betrayed and deceived and starts building a little wall here. Then the last thing I want to talk about is the oversensitivity. When we touch the moon with Neptune, I mean, we get just like, we are sensitive times 10. The moon is already sensitive, right? Moon energy is super sensitive, but Neptune enhances that because there's this fine tuning here that Neptune brings in, and we feel like we have this telepathic connection, and that makes everything more vulnerable because we get each other on such a deep level. It makes both people more vulnerable. Specifically, the moon person will probably feel more vulnerable, but I've always seen it both ways. Both people will feel this energy more or less. So last but not least, let's talk about how you work with this energy, how you make it work. I already said, I mean, you have to be willing, right, to look at your own stuff. And you have to be willing to work on it, and then also both people have to be willing to work on it, and both people have to want to work on it, right, to make that relationship work. What can I shift and change within me? What does that other person need? How can I help them get there? How can I help them? Is there anything I can give in a different way in the relationship so the other person feels more seen, more heard, more accepted, whatever it is? With this one, the first thing is you got to ground this relationship in reality somehow, right? Like you got to be able to build on something. And again, that's where I always look at Saturn and the sun and other moon aspects, right? Do we have some foundation here? You have to have a foundation. That otherwise it's just gonna be, you will constantly try to romanticize until you can't romanticize it anymore, and then it's just a mess. So ground it in reality, whatever that takes. That is a must. And in order to ground the relationship in reality, you have to be grounded in reality, right? What is your reality? Also, what is your truth? What do you truly want? Where do you want to go in life? You may have lofty ideas, but you may also believe that you can't achieve them. So then everything will stay lofty, right? If you don't believe in those ideals or ideas that you have for your future, right? That vision. What's your vision, and how are you grounded in that? The second thing here, healthy boundaries. That's also rather difficult with this aspect, the square aspect between Neptune and the moon, because we can't see boundaries, right? Because the edges are blurred. Like I said in the beginning, right? The edges are not clear. So how do you got to find the boundaries within you, right? You got to have healthy boundaries, know what you can accept, and you got to live from your place of truth, right? What is true for you without limiting yourself, right? We're not talking about limiting yourself. We're talking about setting boundaries and what you want for your life, what you accept, what you don't accept. Integrity. You got to take emotional responsibility for yourself and your actions. That is a little difficult sometimes. Remember, the square is Martian energy. So there is Martian energy here where it's like this kind of energy. I want this and I don't care what happens because I just want it. So that's the energy we are trying to dissect here a little bit. And then I would say find creative outlets, also spiritual outlets. It's a highly spiritual aspect if you utilize it. Shared creative hobbies or shared spiritual practices can be deeply rewarding here. And then the last one, you gotta, like I said this already earlier, you gotta develop awareness. You gotta become aware of your own behaviors. Again, we're talking about the subconscious here. We're bringing the subconscious into this. We are dealing with the subconscious issues here with both people. So you gotta raise your awareness and become aware of your own shortcomings. And by shortcomings, I don't mean something bad, just something that isn't developed in a way where it can be utilized properly. So you have to go back and redevelop, realign. So like I already said, this is an aspect that is highly mesmerizing, but also highly challenging. You can work through this and with this, but again, awareness, raising your consciousness, working with subconscious patterns that are not working anymore, that are not beneficial. So it's a deeply spiritual, but also a deeply emotional aspect that can lead to immense growth for both people. But there has to be the willingness to look at self and the willingness to work through it together as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and otherwise I see you in the next video.